You know, it seemed like a voice appeared in my head. I was hearing that. Yeah. Luke 2. Okay. Yes. Luke 2 is right. Okay. Yeah. Birth of the church. Acts 2. Okay. Birth of Moses. Exodus 2 is right. Good job. Well, you were right there. Okay. 10 Commandments. No, but it's an Exodus. Exodus 20 is right. No, just 20. Exodus 20. Although, did you know there was actually more laws than just the 10 Commandments? The 10 are found in Exodus 20 and some other places, but there are actually many more laws, okay? Let's see. David fights Goliath. David, you know it? No? Okay. He's going to keep quiet about it. David, no. 1 Samuel
13.
Down. Close. 1 Samuel 17. David fights Goliath. Okay. Jonah. Look, I've always said it's a toughest one. Okay, let's try it again. Jonah. Oh, okay, we'll do the. Okay, let's see. Let's do love.
Acts 1:20. Exodus 2.
No.
31.
1 Corinthians. Let's try to learn some of these. Birth of church. Creation.
Genesis 1.
Heaven.
Revelation 12.
David fights Goliath. You learned it. Come on. David fights Goliath. 1 Samuel
13. 1 Samuel 18.
Oh, 17. There you go. Love. 1 Corinthians
21. 13.
That's right. Jonah. Okay. How many sons did Jacob? How many daughters? Will you read my mind? Read my mind. And what's her name? Okay. Okay. Just. Okay. I think we'll do. Let's do the 12 sons of Jacob. Okay. Who all knows it? Good job. Okay. Oh, they're coming out. Oh, they're gonna come up. Okay, guys, you're gonna come up. Yeah, by the way, after services tonight. Yeah, I'm glad you told me that. You know, I forget things. After services tonight, we've got hot dogs and chili and stuff over there. Okay, anybody want some?
Yeah.
How many hot dogs y'all think y'all need?
5
hot dogs. Whoa. One, okay. Okay, that's impressive. Okay. You know, you might be you might be the first person that tackles the stump one of these days. Okay. Smile away. Okay. Smile away where the camera. Okay. Let's do 12 sons of Jacob. Okay. You got it? We'll do Jesus first. Yes, we can. That's right. Okay. Now, don't let me forget. Okay. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Benjamin, Rod, Gad, and Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, Benjamin. These are sons of Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Okay, let's see, there's something we're supposed to do now. What was
Jesus
it?
love me.
Oh, okay, glad you reminded me, I forgot. Okay, now ready? Okay.
Yeah.
What key, we want to see key of H?
That's not a key.
It's not a key? Oh, okay.
Key of J.
Key of J, I don't know that one either. Maybe G or C. What is C? How's that? C? Okay, what is the key of C? Okay, okay. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong. They are weak, but he is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. Oh, okay, guys. This has a red, I'm gonna use the, well, Christmas.
Oh, I got candy. No one does the candy. I had it.
Oh, I'll look at candy. Here, I'll let some technical support take care of that. I'll look at candy.
Jim, we got it.
Oh, we got it, okay. They snuck around and got it.
Evening. Next Sunday evening, following the evening service, Carrier One will have a meeting. Next Sunday afternoon, we have our quarterly business meeting. We're hoping to have a large number of congregations. That there are a couple of birthdays and anniversaries that have occurred recently, and those are in the bulletin. Prayer list, there's been a couple of additions, so we'll go over the prayer list. Nursing home, we have Mel Burke, Oline Burwell, Pauline McCray, Lily Mae Ray, and Betty Scarver. And then Margie Bodley, Lenore Caldwell, Teresa Fuller, Jerry Gadberry, Louise Jenkins, William Jones, Faye Littleton, Michael Moats, and his family, loss of actually two uncles that we had mentioned last week. And Maxine Thomas, how is she, Maxine? She's gone home, okay? All right. It was mentioned this morning, Janice Parks not feeling well, Diane Wilkins, I was down here this morning, she's sick, she's hoping that she doesn't have strep throat. And then Sherry had sent me a message, a good friend of hers from Texas, Lisa Palmer, had just recently lost both of her parents, and now her daughter, Ray Lee, who is a senior at Duke University, she's been diagnosed with esophageal cancer. So that family really having a very, very difficult time, so Sherry's requested prayers on their behalf. So any others that we need to mention this evening? Yes?
I'm laid up there with Teresa, she's supposed to have surgery Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. Okay. She's not up there?
She's in Ozark.
In Ozark, okay. Now, Teresa's surgery, is that in Little Rock? In Little Rock on Wednesday, okay. All right, thank you. All right, now I have one note that it's usually on the announcements as far as the congregation here for the past year or more has been helping with our We have two. One is a staff person and one is a member who has very serious peanut butter allergies. And so we're trying to get word out to everybody. Let's not, if you wouldn't mind, please, let's not provide any more snacks that have peanut butter. You know, and that way we won't have to try to isolate that. Because that, I mean, it can be very serious. We have one young man that just incidental contact with peanut butter will cause a serious reaction for him. Tonight, Chris is going to be leading our singing. Of course, Jen has a message. I'll word the opening prayer in just a moment. If somebody would word the closing prayer for us, please. Yes, see, thank you. Let's go to our Father in prayer. Our Father, as we gather on this evening of this first day of the week, we thank you for the day. We thank you for the time that we can spend not only in worship to you, but also remembrance and thinking about the great gift that you gave us and the sacrifice that Jesus made for us. Pray, Father, that all of our efforts in this year will be fruitful, that you will guide us in the best and most effective way to reach others. And as we have been discussing over the past few months of how we may go back in contact with those who were once attending and try to encourage them, have them to return to our congregation here. Please help us to see the opportunities that you send our way. Help us to say the right things and always do good. We thank you, Father, for those of our number who are involved and help with all the things that we need to do. And we pray, Father, that we'll be able to encourage and motivate others to be active as well this coming year. Pray, Father, that you would be with those that we have been mindful of on our prayer list. Many who have recovered, and we thank you for that. And many who are still struggling, loss of loved ones recently, and as well diagnoses of serious illnesses. We pray that all the efforts that are made will be helpful and bring them back to their health. And we thank you for your power, Father, and we thank you for your word that you've given us. And we pray that we will continue to live our lives in such a way that we will be salt, that we will be light, and we will be able to help others in some way. For it's all in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
Okay, folks. Turn number 18, or read it off the slide there. Faithful love. Faithful love flowing with thee. Granted, Jesus is my plea. Daily walking close to thee. Let it be, dear Lord, let it be. Through this world of toil and snares, if I falter, Lord, who cares? Who with me my burden shares? None but thee, dear Lord, none but thee. Just a closer walk with thee. Granted, Jesus is my plea. Daily walking close to thee. Let it be, dear Lord, let it be. When my feeble life is o'er, time for me will be no more. Guide me gently, safely, o'er to thy kingdom shore, to thy shore. Just a closer walk with thee. Granted, Jesus is my plea. Daily walking close to thee. Let it be, dear Lord, let it be. You turn your song books, number 660, number 876 will be our song invitation.
Good evening. Video picks up better on this, so I'm gonna use How is everybody tonight? At least one was fine, that's good. The rest of you may not know this, I don't know. All the kids, I know that there's some that are meeting with Kent tonight at his thing, that, trying to get back in the swing of things. I think that it's going fairly well. Going fairly well, and of course I found out this morning, and so of course that is the nice thing. All that chili comes in handy. I don't think we've got quite enough kids. I have put on 36 hot dogs and the equivalent amount of chili. And so if some of you want to come over there and eat after services, then there is more than enough to spare. Unless all of them can eat 5 hot dogs like Jet said he can do. So I don't know, we may need all 36 if they can eat 5 apiece. But anyway, there should be plenty, so you're welcome to come. Next week, busy week, especially for the men. We have the men's business meeting, and there should be a lot of things that we'll need to discuss, and a lot of exciting things, I'm sure. Also, the care group meeting, we'll be discussing these names that we're kind of collecting, and we'll have some type of list of them created by then, and we'll start working on addresses and actually what our next steps will be. And I just want to say this too. No one has the answer for this. And so basically, your input will not only be appreciated, it is needed. And some of you know some of these folks better than others, and you will know what will work with them, what will be best. And so we will want your input. And in the meantime, until next week, we can keep praying. Pray for the ones that you wrote down, and we will, even if we only get one back, say we go for the whole year doing this, putting a great effort, even if we only get one back. How exciting and what a great thing that would be. The lesson tonight, we're continuing in the book of Ecclesiastes. By the way, aren't you kids excited? Back to school tomorrow. And I know some of them are excited. I was glad Andrea was here this morning, and I was glad she was here. That I asked her, I said, well, what do you think about not having to go to school tomorrow? She said, no, I'll go to school tomorrow. I said, no. And so she was not aware, so I'm glad that she did. She said she had been down there waiting on the bus and wondered why it didn't come. I said, well, anyway, so she is aware of that now too. According to God's will, Ecclesiastes 8. What does tomorrow bring? Does anyone here, I know we've got an appointment tomorrow. I think James has a business appointment tomorrow. But does anyone really know what's going to happen tomorrow? I mean, you can put it on your calendar, all kinds of things. There's all kinds of things that sometimes happen. And there's things that happen out of the blue that no one can predict. I remember back home, one of the worst power outages we had, power was out for at least a week. It was seemed kind of innocent, but what happened was a couple of squirrels got into one of the big substations and messed it up. I mean, power just was out for a while, and it took them a while to get everything fixed and everything, but you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Things that change. You can get a phone call that completely changes your day. And and as bad as that is, there is one that does know. God knows what tomorrow will bring. But we don't. And a lot of times I think in our folly we think about too much about, we're going to do this, that, and that. We worry about things, but the truth of the matter is none of us can take for granted what tomorrow will bring. My life has changed greatly. If I look back, when I was the age of, say, my son, I thought I had things figured out, and when I graduated, I was an engineer and enjoyed what I did, and did that for a pretty good while. Even I was still an engineer when I married Haley, and even started my own business. And if you had told me any time during that process that one day I'd be preaching full time, I would have just said there's no way. If you told me I'd be living in Arkansas probably back in the day, I would say, no, I don't think I'll live in Arkansas, but boy, am I glad I found my way. And that's the way life is. And everybody here probably can go back in their life and talk about what they had planned when they were a young person, 18, and probably they had these plans and dreams. Some of you may have pretty much lived them, but yet most of us, I dare say, something came along and changed our direction, changed our course. And that's just life. No one can predict what tomorrow brings. And so what that means is we can only control today. Now, we can plan for tomorrow. I'm not saying we can't, but all we can control is what we do today. The things we do today will aid us in what tomorrow may bring. What happens in any day ultimately is up to God's will. And so, Ecclesiastes 8, we're going to deal with some things: the king's command, fearing God, and God's way itself. The king's command. Of course, most believe that Solomon, the wise King Solomon, wrote the book of Ecclesiastes, likely within his later years. And so, this was kind of interesting that he's talking about the king's command when he indeed was king. Ecclesiastes 8, 1-6 says, "Who is like the wise, and who knows the interpretation of a thing? A man's wisdom makes his face shine, and the hardness of his face change. I say, keep the king's command, because of God's oath to him. Be not hasty to go from his presence. Do not take your stand in an evil cause, for he does whatever he pleases. For the word of the king is supreme. And who may say to him, what are you doing? Whoever keeps the command will know no evil thing, and the wise heart will know the proper time and the just way. For there is a time and a way for everything, although man's trouble lies heavy on him." And I love that part where the wise man writes here, there is a time and a way for everything. Isn't that the truth? And a lot of times, we do things at the wrong time. And a lot of times, we need to understand there is a time and a way for everything. And like I said, these lists that we're compiling of people, these lost sheep, as I described them this morning, This list, some of you know these individuals well. Some of you have grown up with them. Some of you, are friends with them. And some of you are related to them. And you know, a lot of times better than others, as far as what it may be the best way to reach them, to reach out to them and how they did. My dad used to always say, and I've said this many times, and he would say up in the pulpit, he said he had 3 kids, just like I do. And he said, one needs a pat on the back, one needs a kick in the seat of the pants, and one needs a hug. And so, us 3 children, we were always, wanting to know which one was which. And I want to tell you, he went to his dying breath and never did reveal the secret of which child was which. Although we suspect that it probably changed from time to time which kid needed which. But isn't that the way it is? We know. There's a time away for everything. And when you know someone well, you know how better to approach them, how better to say something. But the words of wisdom, and really Ecclesiastes is a book of wisdom. It's wisdom literature. He says, I say, keep the king's command. Why? Because of God's connection in that process. God has a hand in governments. Especially when Israel, as we see, was a united kingdom, likely at this time, God had a direct hand in the government. But we understand God even today has a hand in the government. And I'm a little dismayed, and it seems it comes from different things. And I'm just really I feel weary of politics. But it wasn't that long ago. There was people that on one side that didn't like that, who was there and didn't like this. But the thing is, there needs to be a level of respect for our government. And it seems like we're losing that decency. And even before it seems like it goes a little bit both ways, but especially now, it seems like there is a lack of respect for our government and our foundations. And I'll tell you, as Christians, we must always respect the authority that the government has. In Romans 13, 1-7, it says, let every person be subject to the government authorities. For there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers are not a terror to conduct good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? To do what is good, and you will receive his approval. For he is God's servant, for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. Therefore, one must be in subjection not only to avoid God's wrath, but also to save the conscience. For because of this, you also pay taxes, for the authorities are ministers of God, attending to this very thing. Pay to all what is owed to them, taxes to whom taxes are owed, revenue to whom revenue is owed, respect to whom respect is owed, honor to whom honor is owed. And so we see, because of this connection, Paul instructs on the right order, the right submission to government and how this should be. Now, before you say, well, Paul didn't deal with the government that we had, no, his was much, much worse. You look at the oppression and the things that he would suffer at the hands of these governments, and yet this is what Paul writes under divine inspiration. And so we must submit to the authority of the government. Now, of course, obviously that is up to the point that it would conflict with what the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords would have us do. In Mark 14, 35-36, we see when Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane. And the thing we need to understand, when Jesus walked this earth, he submitted to local authority, he submitted to the government, above all things, he was submitted to the will of God. It says, in going a little farther, Mark's account, I love Mark's account of this, says, he fell on the ground and prayed that if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. He said, Abba, Father. He had a close personal relationship with God. Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Remove this cup from me, yet not what I will, but what you will. And ultimately, this is the thing about the King's command. It is God's will that there is a submissive state to Christians, and that we should work within the confines that we have. But above all, we should submit to the will of God. And as a result, we must fear God. In Ecclesiastes 8, 10 to 13, it says, Then I saw the wicked buried. They used to go in and out of the holy place and were praised in the city where they had done such things. This also is vanity. Because the sentence against an evil deed is not executed speedily, the heart of the children of man is fully set to do evil. Though a sinner does evil 100 times and prolongs his life, yet I know that it will be well with those who fear God because they fear before him. But it will not be well with the wicked, neither will he prolong his days like a shadow because he does not fear before God. Now we can look at some general statements from this and see about the wicked. And here we see a contrast between the wicked and those who fear God. And automatically those that don't fear God are automatically, because that in essence becomes wicked. You notice he said, I saw the wicked buried. I want to tell you, it doesn't matter who you are, wicked, good, whatever. We all will have an appointment with death. Remember that. All of us will die. All of us will be buried. So what ultimately matters? You know, you can do all kinds of things, and I'm not saying it's wrong. I mean, I took some measures in my own life physically to eat right, to get healthy. But you know, I'm under no illusion. One of these days, I'm going to die. I'm getting older like anyone else. All of us are. And each and every breath we take, we're one breath closer to that time that we'll be buried in the grave. None of us look forward to that. But yet it will happen. It's a fact of life. And so as a result, the wise man says, I saw the wicked buried. It doesn't matter how much money he has. It doesn't matter what he does to prolong his days. One day he will face death. He says it will not be well for you. They may have all kinds of riches, they may have all kinds of power, they may have all kinds of glory while on this earth, but basically when they die, it will not be well. Quite opposite, it will be well for those who fear God. I'm reminded of the Psalm, the first Psalm, Psalms 1. And basically, it deals with these same type issues. There the psalmist writes, Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers, but he delights in the law of the Lord. And on his law he meditates day and night. He's like a tree planted by the streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. In all that he does, he prospers. The wicked are not so. For like chaff that the wind drives away, therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. It will not be well with the wicked when they die. But God's way. There's really only one way that a true Christian can follow. That's God's way. And so in verses 16 and 17, Ecclesiastes 8 says, When I applied my heart to know wisdom, and to see the business that is done on the earth, how neither day nor night do one's eyes see sleep, then I saw the work of God, that man cannot find out the work that's done under the sun. However, each man may toil and seek, and he will not find it out, even though a wise man claims to know, he cannot find it out. There are things about God that we just don't know. There's things about what will happen in the future that we can't predict. By the way, I recently saw, I think it was made a news article, but you might as well stop watching the news. This whole shutdown of the government might as well end because a psychic from Mexico already said that there will never be a wall built by Donald Trump. So I don't know why I'm bothering with it. No one can know the future, no one. And we know the silliness that is in that. No one is wise enough to know it all. And especially in the day we live in, at one time people were so, when I was an engineering student and everything, I used to think it was funny because, when I took calculus, they talk about someone like Isaac Newton. They say, Sir Isaac Newton, he was a mathematician. But then I take physics and they say, Sir Isaac Newton, he was a physicist. And then, I get some engineering advice, Sir Isaac Newton, he was an engineer. And on it goes. And basically, he was all kinds of, he was amazing. I've seen some people predict that he may have had the highest IQ of anyone. The things that he was, by the way, one of the things he was a little bit of a theologian. He wrote commentaries on Revelation and other books, Daniel and other things as well. As wise as he was, he didn't know it all. Look how much has been invented, how much has been furthered on some of his ideas since then. And on those things go. And what we have today is we have a lot of specialists, but because there is no way to know it all. No one is wise enough to know all things. Many things are out of our control. You know, we'd like to be able to program things and say, okay, this is what I want from tomorrow to happen. And I don't know, I do sometimes. Any of y'all ever make to-do lists in the morning? And I have found the only way you get to do all your to-do list is if you keep it down to maybe one or two things. If you do that, you might have a chance. But even then, every now and then, something's going to come up you're not going to get it. But if you make your to-do list too long, I guarantee you, things are going to come up. You know, I remember when we first moved to Texas, you know, I had some plans. You know, we was going to do this visit, this visit, this visit. I remember one time I took Haley with me. We was going to go visit. I think I had 4 people that I wanted to visit one day. And so we went to see Martha Downs first. That was the biggest mistake. Loved Martha Downs dearly. She was a special lady. Went to Martha Downs' house, and so, you know, I looked at my watch. Oh, we better be going. We're going to see these other people. I stopped standing up. I said, well, we're going to go. We didn't get going. And she said, sit down. No, you're not going. And so I said, yes, ma'am. Sit down. So we stayed there another 2 or 3 hours, and needless to say, I didn't get anyone else visited that night. And that's the way life is. Man cannot fully understand God's ways. You know, a lot of times we think, you know, and I think as we grow deeper in faith, we understand things, but generally the way we see things is we see things from the past. Boy, God was wise when he did that. God knew what he was doing. I would have totally agreed if I had had what I really wanted. God understood. We don't understand God's ways. I love, and I'm going to do a sermon just on this because I love this sentence here. What wisdom is in here? Last week we talked about it. It says, consider the work of God. Who can make straight what he has made crooked? And you know, really the whole problem with men and women today is they want to make things straight that God made crooked. You know, even in society today, they are messing things up that are so obvious and so easy. God just made them that way. You know, God created man and woman at the beginning. And yet people want to straighten that out. That's what people want women to be the same as men. And I'm going to tell you that's not good because women are superior in so many ways. Women have the greatest gift that I tell you of all mankind, and that is the gift of being able to bring a child to this earth. No man will ever experience it. We have different roles. There are lives. God has set us on a path. And there's things that we control, don't get me wrong, but in general, I want to tell you, there's things that we cannot change what's going to happen. Things will happen. Isaiah 40:28 says, have you not known, have you not heard, the Lord is everlasting God, the creator of the beginnings of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. Paul puts it this way in Romans 11:32-36, for God has consigned all to disobedience, that he may have mercy on all. God knew we mess up because he gave us freedom, but he has mercy on us. Oh, the depth of the riches and wisdom of the knowledge of God. How unsearchable are his judgments, and how inscrutable are his ways. For who has known the mind of the Lord, or who has been his counselor? Who has given a gift to him that he might be repaid? For from him and through him and in him are all things, to him glory forever. Amen. Our whole purpose in life should be to live according to God's will. If we do, it's going to be well for us. If we don't, it will not. I want to tell you, we learn and we understand more about God, I think, as we grow in our faith. We learn how great indeed he is. We don't know what will happen tomorrow, but how will tomorrow's end? One day we'll all come to the conclusion of our life. One day we'll face judgment. Every single one of us. There's nothing we can do to change that. God has fixed this. It is going to happen. None of us know when, but it will surely happen. The wise man concludes, Ecclesiastes 12, 13, and 14. The end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God and keep His commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed in judgment, and every secret thing, whether good or evil. Where do you stand tonight? Are you the wise? Who's going to be well for you when you die? Or are you the wicked? Who's against God right now? If you're not a Christian, I want to tell you, you have sin on your account. Jesus came to this earth to die for you. He said simply, he who believes and is baptized will be saved. Why not do that tonight if you need to? Or maybe you have fallen away. Maybe you have not been letting God be in control. Maybe you have not been submitting to His will enough. Maybe there's something you need to make right tonight. If you have any need at all, come out to this.
I can hear my Savior calling. I can hear my Savior calling. I can hear my Savior calling. Take thy cross and follow me. Where He leads me, I will follow. closing song, have the dismissal prayer. Number 709. How sweet, how heavenly is the sight when those that love the Lord in one another's peace delight and so fulfill the word.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we love you. We're thankful for the day that you've given us. We're thankful for your many wonderful blessings. Father, we're thankful for your Son Jesus, who came to this earth and died on the cross for our sins. We ask that you forgive us for our sins. Father, we are hopeful that our worship here this evening